Hi, everyone. This is Mary Kurek with Frontrunners Innovate Magazine, and I have with me today Ryan Arndt. And Ryan is one of those geniuses that I love to, to play with every now and again, just because he knows a lot about things I know almost nothing about. And the kinds of things that he knows about are technology bits and pieces that we all are using now or going to be using. And so getting that head start of understanding what opportunities are out there that we can learn and grow from, but develop within a particular space that has that sort of genius, let's just say, cave around it, so that we can play and be knowledgeable while we're doing it is amazing. And Ryan has that kind of opportunity to talk to us about today. But Ryan, let's first get caught up with you. I mean, Ryan and I have known each other since our games industry days, so we've known each other for a little while. So tell us your background, a little bit about your background and what you're doing now.
Sure. So after working in games, I actually went working into post-secondary software. So I was doing sales and support around tracking software for assessments for post-secondary students. And in time, like moved on to another project, wanted something a bit more exciting, like games was. I enjoyed that space and wanted to move back towards something more high tech and kind of bleeding edge, because that really wasn't for me. And so now I'm into the space which is in blockchain, specifically working in identity and privacy and security. And so working at the Stacks Foundation, and the Stacks Foundation exists to support the Stacks blockchain. And the foundation of the Stacks blockchain is a project called Blockstack. And the whole essence of that is that we are working to rebuild a user-owned internet. So starting from scratch. So it'll be an internet owned by the users of it.
Wow. Okay. You're going to have to explain a little more about that.
Sure.
Draw it out a little bit. Just paint us a picture. What does a user-owned internet look like?
Sure. So it is a decentralized network. So much like Bitcoin, it's actually associated with Bitcoin blockchain with our cryptocurrency, which is called the Stacks token.
Okay.
And the identity portion is on the Stacks blockchain. So when you sign up for an account, then you sign up and you get a seed phrase, which is something different than what's called Web 2, which is things like Facebook and things like that. This is Web 3. And so when you sign up, like I've worked in support, as well as what I'm doing now, which is my role is the Stacks ecosystem steward at the Stacks Foundation. So I work across the entire Stacks ecosystem. And but previously I was working in support at Blockstack, which is where the chain started, the blockchain. And when people would create an account, they would get a seed phrase, which is 12 words, and everybody's 12 words are different. And you, as the user, you're the only one who knows those 12 words. So if somebody would send me a support email and say, "Hey, I lost my seed phrase. Can you help?" I couldn't, which is very different, very, very different than something with Facebook where you could reset your password.
Yeah.
So it's completely user owned. So from the support side of things, I could help. Like maybe you saved it in an email, maybe you took a picture of it, which people do. It's not secure, but it's what people do. But in the end, like if you lose your seed phrase, that's it. Like you can't get back in. So that's what I mean by user owned, where everything, your data, everything you upload, it's all on your own server that isn't accessible by anybody else on the blockchain. So it's for the users.
Wow. So talk to us a little bit about what draws people to want to develop on Stacks.
I think a lot of it is wanting to move away from the monopolies that exist, like big corporate monopolies like Google and Facebook and things like that. I was talking to one of the developers today who says their plan is to replace Google Suite. So they're working on a tool like that. So there's some big dreamers who want to like really rebuilding the internet. So there's tools, all sorts of different tools around and growing. There's over 400 different apps that are in the ecosystem right now. And now I'm working in the grants program. So when there's things like, oh, we could use a calendar, that would be more useful because it would be great to have a calendar. And that we're having to rely on Google Calendar because we're kind of in a space where we're working in between Web 2 and Web 3 as we build. So instead of having to use Google Calendar, having something built on the blockchain that was decentralized and owned by the users, again, would be a lot more powerful. And that's like, we're planning for like 25, 50 years. Like this is for the long term. And Yeah, so that's what brings in people mostly, is that interest in security, privacy, and ownership of their own data.
So does this mean then, at some point, I could interact with, my email and my calendar and everything, and then all of a sudden I won't, there won't be that all of a sudden I'm getting advertisements for things that relate to my emails and my calendar and my everything that I do.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
because you're not being tracked, right? So you're not
There
being
you go.
tracked in there.
Okay.
So that would definitely be different. Each developer of the app, if they wanted to add in like a paid version, like a free version, paid version,
Mhm.
they can do that, because as the blockchain itself and the administrators of the blockchain, um, the Stacks Foundation and Blockstack doesn't tell people that they can't have ads. I don't think I've seen any, but there are some that have subscription services,
Yeah.
which I think is fair because you're paying for good software, right? So, and that's what people really should have been
I
doing
think
all
it's
along.
just the thing that you're being tracked and it's like Big Brother's watching you, because it feels like sometimes literally, it's almost like you'd be talking about something in your house and then suddenly
Oh yeah.
things are showing up in your
Oh, for
email that
sure.
relate. And it's like, that is impossible that would happen just like that.
I have
But
been there
it's,
myself.
it's how you're moving around on the internet too. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
interesting. So what kinds of projects are using the Stacks grant? First of all, let's find out what it's intended for. And then can you tell me a little bit about maybe a couple of the projects that are being built?
Sure. So the intention for the Stacks Grants program is projects that are open to the community, like so they benefit the overall ecosystem, and they're for future work. So if somebody was to come on and say, "Hey, I've already made this, can
Yeah,
you grant for it?" No, it has to be something coming up. But
yeah.
and it has to be something, because it's an open source ecosystem, that it is good for the entire ecosystem. So like the community will benefit. So we wouldn't grant something where the code is locked. It has to be available for everybody. So with this like a calendar idea, then the code for the calendar would have to be available for it to be a grant, so that other people could build on it. So it's basically, you could take those different modules and then build more things like you would in other open source ecosystems.
Wow.
And so some of
So
the,
mobile developers
yeah, there are
are
some,
involved?
it's
Yeah.
predominantly on the web, and then they
Uh-huh.
will make a mobile version of it. Yeah, so basically it'll start mostly with web developers, and that's really
Yeah.
the area where people are coming in mostly, and then smart contracts, which are built on
Mhm.
blockchain, so they can make it so instead of having like intermediaries, the smart contracts can run for you. And so instead of having to do like a transaction, maybe you need like a lawyer to write something off
Mhm.
for you, the smart contract could take the care of that for you. So it wouldn't need that intermediary to deal with that, because it would all be tracked on the blockchain and transparent. So it
Hmm.
would be available, and so that can be really, really beneficial and bring costs down for a lot of people. It's also pretty disruptive to things. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's been used in, like, blockchain has been used in other spaces around food, and showing like where food comes from, like
Yeah.
right from the farm, and it brings more money to the farmers directly.
Hmm.
As well as artists, you can track your art as a digital token, so you'd be able to like know exactly who got it and the provenance of it and where it's come from and all that. So because it's all on the blockchain.
Straight from like the artist, like what country they are
Yeah,
in and
yeah,
all
absolutely.
that information. Yeah. That's kind
Yeah,
of
or a piece of
intriguing, isn't it? I mean, I think that's neat. If you were in a gallery and you bought a piece of art, just to know really where it all came from. I think that's kind of cool.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's very
yeah, I
cool.
think you and I talked about that before, and I thought that was really interesting because we've got a couple of league members that are working in art projects
Hmm.
uh, that are intended to raise funds for charity.
Right.
And so, yeah, so this would be kind of a neat thing for them to get involved in. So, did we talk about the differences between this and other crypto projects at early on?
Not yet, but so one of the big things with the block stack is it's gone through the Securities Exchange Commission. So the token
Mhm.
has been brought through that whole process, and coming up on January 14th, 2021, so pretty soon, the
Yes.
blockchain is going to be sufficiently decentralized that it would no longer have to run through the SEC. So currently, the token can't be sold, bought or sold within the United States unless it's through an approved token sale through the Securities Exchange Commission, which is very different than other cryptocurrencies. It's just kind of wild west, sort
Hmm.
of sell them everywhere. It was available for sale in 2019 during like a 2 month period, 3 month period.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was no more purchase. It was available outside of the US, but not within. And
Yeah.
so, but coming up when the network is sufficiently decentralized and the SEC has cleared the way for that. So that's going to be coming up on January 14th with the launch of the Stacks 2 blockchain, which means that it gets kicked off. It's basically a blockchain will hard fork. So go in like another direction on a network. And that hard fork is going to be triggered by miners. And so the miners on the blockchain will trigger that, and without them doing that, it can't happen. So when that happens, the company Blockstack will no longer be in control of the network. It's basically like, okay, everybody, go. And so, yeah, it's exciting because it's we
Running
don't
of the
know what'll
bulls.
happen.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Open the door.
Yeah.
Open the gates. Yeah.
So that's decentralized networks for you. In a little bit.
That's funny. That's amazing. What kind of, and I think we talked about this before when we initially talked about this, what kind of developers are you specifically looking for? And my question as always goes to the global aspect of things, because I think what we're talking about is pretty much here in the United States, but you tell me what you think from a perspective of what type of developers would most use something like this, or that you think would benefit best, and from the global aspect, where are we going with this?
Sure. So the developers most interested, they can be all over the world. Our community is in many countries.
Okay.
The head office is in New York, but you don't have to be in the United States to get a grant. You could be literally anywhere. And we do have a number of the grantees who are outside the United States. I think most of them actually, which is good because I'm actually not in the United States either. I'm in Canada. So that works well for me too. But yeah, so, and the type of developers who are going to be interested in it are people who are technically curious probably and want to try something different, maybe if they've not developed on the blockchain before, but people that they care about security and privacy and data ownership and like helping people to create a new internet. So it's going to be something where they're like inspired to be involved, and I think want to make a positive change, which is why I wanted to reach out to you, because I know you work with a lot of those people. So
innovators out there that are
exactly.
looking to make changes, a lot of disruptors out there who feel like if they can kind of poke the balloon a little bit, then they can get some other things that will happen for the best outcome.
Absolutely.
So what if they wanted to apply, what is the process for that if they wanted to try to get one of these grants?
There is a link, stacks.org/grants, and then they can go on there. You can see coming up soon, we're doing the case studies now.
Yeah, we'll drop that in. You just apply, tell me what the process, the steps.
Yeah,
Other
sure.
than
So
applying, is it just apply and wait, or?
Well, yeah, but it's the application process. Part of that is getting community feedback on it. And so we have like our Telegram or Discord channel. And so I've shared those links as well, but the people can go on there, and we have our forum too, which I don't think I sent you, but I will. And on the forum, you can go, like, it's a great space if you want to like brainstorm ideas, and maybe like some of the folks who maybe have an art idea but need a developer, you might be able to find someone there around that to pair their idea together. Yeah, so having that, so before you actually apply for the grant, you can like figure out what you want to do, and I'm absolutely around to help with all of that. And so once you figure out,
so you don't have to have all the nuts and bolts figured out. You can just have the idea to move forward, and there's no like time crunch on it or anything like that. No. You can just
it's open-ended, and we review the applications every Tuesday. So that's it.
Okay.
And so right now,
I mean, from the standpoint of your project, I mean, since you're building it, there's no like you got to have this done in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months.
Well, so we're in the beta process of it because the Stacks Foundation just started in August, and so the grants program started in September of 2020, so not too long ago. And so we're in the beta of the grants program to work out the kinks. And so it's a maximum $5,000 in USD, but come Stacks 2, so when it's decentralized, we're going to be able to pay out in Stacks tokens, so the cryptocurrency on the network. And so that will make it so we can do bigger grants. So it won't be maxed out at $5,000. The $5,000 grants, which are, I mean, it's already the 18th of December, right? So that's coming up soon, January 14th. And those are 4 to 8 weeks, but we're looking at doing longer projects as well. So it doesn't have to be in they can be bigger, larger amounts, things like that. And then getting Stacks will be now part of the ecosystem, and being somebody who's really got skin in the game to be part
Yeah.
of making this internet together. So
Fantastic. I think this is sort of like a mini tutorial for, for those people who are
sure, for sure.
interested, but certainly we will be happy to send anybody your way that had some serious questions about what to do. And we'll drop in all the links that you share with me, Ryan, because
perfect,
I think this is something really unique and interesting for a lot of our innovative sorts out there who are really, tech savvy enough to want to jump on board and kind of move some things around in the world and create that more private oriented, that privacy oriented, security, based area from which to allow all of us to move around and do our, human being business. So I like it.
Literally, yes,
I like it.
exactly.
So thank you, Ryan, for being our genius on board, and we appreciate
gosh.
it. And we will be back in touch, I guess, to check in on you maybe after January 14th, as you
Sure,
say.
sounds good. Yeah, that's the big date coming up soon. And I can send you a link if people want to sign up for that launch too.